Not this week, week 39. Trump's silence, Palestine's wait, Russia's denial. Imagine this, Donald Trump, standing at the UN podium, pounding it like a Vegas slot machine, announcing a brand new world order called America First, Reloaded. Palestine, right after, gets universally recognized as a state. Fireworks, confetti, Mahmoud Abbas on TikTok. And then, in the skies over Copenhagen, a Russian official waves down from a drone, saying, "Yep, that was us. Sorry for the turbulence." Didn't happen. Instead, the world gave us silence, shrugs, and speeches so uninspiring they made elevator music sound like a Coldplay encore. Not this week, the only show where the headline is the absence, the silence is the statement, and the punchline is reality itself. Dear doomscrollers, caffeine guzzlers, and professional refresh Twitter like it's a vital sign addicts, this edition is for you. If you thought the UN General Assembly was going to give us fireworks, revelations, or at least a viral TikTok dance from Macron, you were wrong. This edition, we dive into 3 spectacular non-events. Trump didn't declare a new US world order at the UN. He showed up, he ranted, but the revolution never arrived. Spoiler, the man who branded steaks, airlines, and universities apparently couldn't brand a doctrine. Palestine still didn't get the recognition it expected. Speeches flowed, applause echoed, but the paperwork was missing, as if Palestinian statehood has been permanently stuck in someone's Google Docs draft folder since 1948. Russia didn't admit to flying drones over Nordic airports. Copenhagen grounded flights, Oslo panicked, NATO checked its emails, and Moscow just shrugged, like a teenager denying cookie theft with crumbs still on their lips. So strap in. Grab your overpriced latte or the last glass of tap water not owned by BlackRock. Because in this edition of Not This Week, we're not covering what happened. We're dissecting what spectacularly failed to happen. And trust me, the silence is deafening. Trump didn't declare a new U.S. world order at the UN. Picture it, September 23rd, New York. The UN General Assembly, that annual talent show for world leaders, where everyone pretends to solve problems, but mostly competes for who has the least boring translator. Into this circus walks Donald J. Trump, the man whose Twitter fingers once dictated global stock markets, and whose hair has the gravitational pull of a small planet. Everyone expected something. A grand doctrine. A tantrum. A new threat to pull America out of everything from NATO to Netflix. What did we get? Complaints about Europe's migration policies, lectures on climate change conspiracies, and a strange rant about windmills that allegedly kill birds and jobs at the same time. But what we didn't get, the non-event, was a declaration of a new U.S. world order. Now, why does this matter? Because Trump thrives on spectacle. The man lives for big labels. The Wall, America First, The Apprentice. So when the world gathered, waiting for America First 2.0, Global Domination Edition, all they got was a rerun of Greatest Hits, 2017 to 2020. Imagine expecting Avengers Endgame and getting Sharknado 3. Satirically speaking, the absence of a new doctrine is louder than any rant he delivered. It suggests either Trump has no new ideas, or worse, that his new idea is to stop having ideas altogether. A world order not declared is a vacuum, and vacuums suck, especially in geopolitics. Let's break it down. The expectation game. Every U.S. president since World War II has tried to brand their foreign policy like a tech startup. Truman had containment. Eisenhower had massive retaliation. Nixon had détente. Bush had the war on terror. Obama had leading from behind. Translation, Europe, please do this while we binge watch. Trump's previous run gave us America First. So surely, with his triumphant UNGA return, the stage was set for a sequel. But nothing. Instead, we got the verbal equivalent of leftovers microwaved in the hotel lobby. The Allies' anxiety. Europe braced for a tantrum. Germany rehearsed apologies. France practiced eye rolls. Britain, now post-Brexit and perpetually confused, probably just hoped no one would notice them at all. Instead of dramatic announcements, Trump delivered criticisms without commitments. Allies were left guessing. Is this non-doctrine the new doctrine? It's like being ghosted, but by a superpower. The rivals' relief. China, Russia, Iran all tuned in, expecting to be roasted on the UN's global stage. Instead, they got Trump yelling about European immigration and wind turbines. Somewhere in Beijing, Xi Jinping probably chuckled into his jasmine tea, thinking, if this is the big, scary America, we're fine. Putin probably sent Trump a thank you card. In Russian, with glitter, the satire. Trump's missing world order is the geopolitical equivalent of announcing a big surprise at a party and then pulling out a half-empty box of Dunkin' Donuts. No one's angry, just disappointed. The irony here is profound. For a man whose life has been a branding exercise, hotels, steaks, ties, colognes, his failure to brand U.S. foreign policy this time is almost tragicomic. Imagine a salesman showing up to the biggest client meeting of his life and forgetting the PowerPoint. The absence is the headline. No doctrine, no order, no clarity, just vibes. And in geopolitics, vibes don't deter tanks. Palestine still didn't get the recognition it expected. Meanwhile, while Trump was busy not declaring world orders, Palestine was busy not getting recognized. Again, the UN General Assembly heard speeches filled with thunder. Leaders condemned Israeli strikes on Gaza. Delegates pounded their fists. Cameras zoomed in on tearful expressions. Hashtags trended. Justice for Palestine. Free Gaza. Solidarity forever. And yet, when the lights dimmed and the translators unplugged their headsets, nothing had changed. No vote, no recognition, no signatures. The history of almost. Since 1948, Palestine has been the star of global almost moments. Almost recognized, almost independent, almost free. Each UNGA session feels like it might finally deliver. And yet, year after year, Palestine walks away with the world's loudest standing ovation and the world's smallest pile of paperwork. It's the ultimate non-event, a performance that never ends. The gap between words and deeds. World leaders are never shy about voicing support. From the Arab League to Latin America, from European leftists to Twitter activists, the chorus is strong. But when it comes to converting applause into recognition, the courage evaporates. Because recognizing Palestine isn't just symbolic, it carries real diplomatic costs. And politicians like Katz avoid water at all costs. Israel's shadow. Every country that considers recognition must calculate the fallout with Israel, Washington, and their own defense contractors. So the non-recognition isn't a passive accident. It's an active policy of hesitation. The paperwork doesn't stall itself. It's stalled by hands that sign billion-dollar arms deals on other pages. The satire. If Palestinian statehood were a Netflix series, it would be stuck on coming soon forever. Audiences wait. Trailers drop. But the release date keeps shifting because the producers, in this case the UN, are too scared to hit publish. The irony? Palestine might be the most recognized, unrecognized state in history. Its flag waves at UN events, its leaders speak at global forums, and yet its statehood exists in a limbo that's half acknowledgement, half polite denial. Why it matters. The non-event of recognition highlights the absurdity of international politics, endless solidarity with zero consequences. Palestine gets speeches, Israel gets settlements. Palestine gets applause, Israel gets F-35s. Palestine gets hashtags, Israel gets high-tech trade deals. It's as if the world collectively agreed to cosplay as Palestine's best friend while quietly refusing to invite them to the party. In satire, this is rich material. The gap between rhetoric and reality is wide enough to land Elon Musk's Mars rocket. And the silence of recognition is as loud as the applause that fills the chamber every September. So what didn't happen? Palestine still didn't get recognized. Again, the world applauded the absence, and the absence became the headline. Russia didn't admit to flying drones over Nordic airports. And then to Northern Europe. September 23rd, Copenhagen and Oslo. Flights suspended, airports on high alert, passengers confused as drones buzzed overhead like mechanical mosquitoes. Naturally, suspicion fell on Russia. Because in 2025, when something suspicious flies, trolls, or hacks, Moscow is always the prime suspect. But did Russia admit it? Of course not. Moscow's official line, "What drones?" We know nothing. Maybe they were seagulls, very advanced seagulls, with GPS. The suspicion game. The Nordic countries, perched uncomfortably close to Russia's neighborhood, are jittery. Every drone sighting feels like a rehearsal for something bigger. NATO knows it, Russia knows, NATO knows it. But without an admission, it's all shadowboxing. The power of ambiguity. By not owning the drones, Russia wins twice. First, it avoids direct confrontation. Second, it keeps NATO guessing. Was it Moscow? Or just a hobbyist with too much Red Bull and free time? The ambiguity is itself the weapon. NATO's dilemma. Without proof, NATO can't escalate. They can issue statements, hold emergency calls, maybe move some jets around for show. But without a confession, it's all theater. And Moscow knows theater. The satire. Imagine being gaslit by a superpower. No, we didn't fly drones over your airport. You're imagining things. Meanwhile, passengers are Instagramming the drones in real time. It's like catching your partner cheating and having them say, "That's not me, that's my identical twin, who also happens to own my phone." The absurdity is the point. Russia thrives on ambiguity, trolling, and the plausible deniability game. By not admitting, it turns Europe's security concerns into a punchline. Why it matters. The non-event, no admission, is what keeps the tension alive, because sometimes not saying yes is more destabilizing than saying no. NATO is forced to prepare for threats that may or may not exist, spending billions chasing drones that might just be toys. And that's the brilliance of the non-admission. It weaponizes uncertainty. So, what didn't happen? Russia didn't admit to flying drones. Europe didn't escalate. NATO didn't retaliate. Officially, nothing happened, but unofficially, everything did. Pause. Before we go further, smash that like button the way NATO smashes emergency meeting buttons every time a drone flies by. Drop a comment. Which non-event do you think is the most absurd? Trump's missing world order, Palestine's missing recognition, or Russia's missing confession? And if you're new here, hit subscribe and follow button. Unlike the UN, we actually deliver on promises. And that's this edition of Not This Week. Trump showed up but didn't reinvent the world. Palestine received applause but no signatures. Russia flew or didn't fly drones, and certainly didn't admit to anything. 3 silences, 3 absences, 3 non-events. But here's the thing. Sometimes what doesn't happen tells us more than what does. The missing declaration shows America's confusion. The missing recognition shows the world's cowardice. The missing confession shows Russia's trolling genius. The absence is the headline. So as you log off this edition, remember, the loudest statements in politics aren't